Well, I'm a family man. I've got 2 children of my own, young children that will be growing in the city. And I'd just like to really find out what Ed Miliband has planned and what other people have got to say in the area.
It's a good opportunity to actually meet the people who could possibly run our country.
I think we need a radical defence of education in all its forms, right from very early years.
Got 2 little boys, 5 and 2, so the early years stuff, education, that's all very important to me. I mean, obviously it's a long way off yet, but things like tuition fees, that's starting to concern me because at some point it's going to have a knock-on effect on my retirement.
I'm delighted to have the chance to be here with you today with members of the Shadow Cabinet. It's the first time the Shadow Cabinet has met outside London since the general election. We're going to be doing this around the country. Now, I think that what our country must be about is ensuring that we can pass on better opportunities to the next generation than we had. My dad came here at the age of 16 in 1940 with his father from Belgium, fleeing from the Nazis. He went to night school, went to the Navy, and then went to university. And it was the opportunities that Britain provided that enabled him to provide for me and my brother a secure and stable upbringing. And it is a long way from being a refugee family leaving Belgium to becoming leader of the Labour Party. But I'm under no illusions about why that was possible. It was possible because of the opportunities this country provided. And the reason that I'm in politics and the reason that I'm here today is because I want to do my bit to make sure that that promise of progress for the next generation can be passed on.
We all want to help families to get on, and that's kind of obvious, really. But it does strike me that today, the nature of what a family is incredibly diverse. There is no longer a simple nuclear family template. And how is the best way that we can reach people in their very different domestic situations?
We've got to help and reach out to all types of families, and we shouldn't make, if you like, the kind of judgments. I mean, this is why we're not in favour of the government's married couples allowance. I don't think it's those kind of judgments that we should make. We want stable families. We think marriage is an important part of that as an institution, but me of all people is not going to lecture people on their personal circumstances.
I used to work, before I retired, as a childcare worker in Sure Start Centre, and I think they're excellent places for children. The only thing that I found was the amounts that the families had to pay towards the childcare for the children. It nullified what they were working for.
I think we're all conscious of this, and we're all conscious of the fact that there is unfinished business around the early years and the costs of having your kids looked after. We introduced the childcare tax credit, which I think was a major step forward. It's actually now being cut back from 80% of funding to 70%.
We're facing in Parliament at the moment voting reform, and if I understand it, the coalition government, amongst other things, is proposing a reduction in the number of constituencies. Have you ever thought about, or has the Labour Party ever thought about, making participation in elections mandatory? That's not to say that people have got to vote. They should be given a place on the ballot paper to say, I don't want to vote, I don't want to vote. But this, I think, would have a, you could market this as a maximisation of democracy, and I think it would be very difficult for any party to argue against it.
Compulsory voting is somehow suggesting that it is people's responsibility that they're not engaged in politics. Actually, I think it's our responsibility, us as politicians. Because actually, if people think that things will make a difference to their lives, they'll vote. It's not like voting is that difficult a thing to do. And that is why I think that's a really important sort of lesson for us as a political party. Because we've seen declining turnout of people voting in elections, as Jim implied with his question. But I don't think the answer is to force people to vote. I think the answer is to make people think that voting will make a difference. And that's why I come to this issue that I started with of the next generation and what we do for the next generation. See, I think that if by the time of the next election we can show to people that there is a genuine difference about the future, not just of this country, but of the future generations in this country and what it will mean for them, I think people will turn out and vote.
It's the first time I've ever been to anything like this, and I absolutely loved it. I thought it was really good that Ed was here and the rest of the Shadow Cabinet. I thought the question and answer session went well, and I've really enjoyed being in the workshop with Yvette Cooper.
He was good, nice, come across as a nice guy.
I thought in regards to what Ed Miliband was saying about the British promise, that was probably the thing I'll take away with me from today more than anything else. It's a great damning indictment on society when you can say that a future generation of children in our society are not going to have it as good as the previous generation.
Excellent, he's a good leader. I like him, he's a good orator, he speaks very well, very clearly, everybody can understand him. He's a good man. I think he's a good leader.